Welcome to the Lost Lowdown Podcast 137 with your hosts, Claude and Justin.
What's up, guys?
We are back, continuing our Season 3 commentary series with episode 307, Not in Portland. Everybody's favorite something.
Episode after a break.
That might be true. Maybe.
There weren't that many breaks, so
Yeah.
yeah.
The odds are good.
It was a unique situation this season, actually. I guess they never really did this again. So yeah, it was the best. It was the best episode after a 6-month mini arc.
Yes, hands down. I know that's a controversial statement, but
Yeah.
I think it's true.
Hey, we're laying it on the line here. We ask the hard questions.
See this line right here? This is where we're putting it, right on the line. And the
Yeah, I
question
don't know.
is it gonna lay there or is it gonna lie there? And
Don't
it's
even
a grabber.
please. That's like the worst question ever. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I don't even.
Might lay or lie depending what
Oh
you're talking about. Oh, it's the worst.
God, it's so deep. Oh my God, English is hard. Um. Uh. Yeah, I think. Uh. This episode is memorable because first of all, like the title was kind of a mystery.
Yep.
Like I remember we would know the titles in advance, and it was like, oh man, not in Portland. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, it's just a weird title. It's weird to title it like not something.
Not something. Not something. Yeah, it's an anti-title.
Yeah, like I don't think they have a lot of titles where it's like not this. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
Like okay, not in Portland. Like why would that be a title? And I sort of like that the episode is structured so that the final scene is pretty much you finding out what not in Portland means.
Yeah.
You know, and like by that time they've shown you so much crazy shit that you've actually forgotten
Mm-hmm.
that was a question. They're like, oh, not in Portland. Oh, you know,
You
like
maybe don't make that sound in particular.
I always make that sound. That's how I watch TV. God, everybody doesn't do that.
That oscillating.
It's,
Yeah.
it's normal.
Usually only cartoon characters get to pull that off, but I think you can manage it.
But yeah, it's because like I feel like this episode was really notable in that the the previous episode was very like action oriented and didn't really have a lot of mystery to it.
Yeah.
Whereas this episode is the first flashback that we've ever had of an other.
Yep.
Not only that, we learn the story of how she was recruited to join the others.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of deepens the mystery of the others because the circumstances of her recruitment are very mysterious.
Yeah.
And it leaves you with a lot of questions.
Yeah, it adds to the idea of what is another and how much buy-in do these people have to what's going on the
Yeah.
island.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so it was very exciting to see that. And although at the same time, and this is something I only reflect on in retrospect, because at the time I was happy for like anything they wanted to give me, like information. I want information, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can look back and say, well, they really told us that like Juliet's not a real other.
Yeah.
You know, she's an outsider who was brought in to deal with this one specific problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so she's never really gonna be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Perhaps that's why she's left behind.
and she becomes one of us. Yeah.
And there's a catch-22. Oh wait.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I mean, it's I feel like if you think about it, there's kind of you can extrapolate what her story becomes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
And they set up like here pretty much all the major beats of her character. Like the only thing that's not here that they put later, obviously, is the thing with Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
but all the stuff with her sister and like why she's on the island, and her, skills as a fertility researcher, all that stuff is here, and also like the sort of what we get here is like the personality change that she's undergone by being part of the others.
Yeah.
Because the person we meet here is very different from who we've seen so far with the others and who we're going to see.
Yeah.
you know, and they
Yeah.
really press that idea.
Another thing that's interesting that I am now just putting together is Juliet's, coming to the island is very much, sort of being a scientist, being a doctor, researcher, is very much like Dan when he comes to the island. And, we've talked about, that it's really this sort of false sense of answers to come when anyone tries to do science on the island.
Mhm.
And we've talked about how the whole point of the show is they're not going to get answers. You can do all the science you want; it's not going to help you. But of course, you don't know that watching the show. You hope that rocket test is going to prove something really important.
Send that payload.
Give me that payload. And it's the same with Juliet. Like, she comes to the island to solve this mystery that can't be solved and can't be fixed,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the point. They don't seem to recognize that there's a fertility problem for a reason. It's not just something you can crack open, and much like life. And what happens after we die is it's an eternal mystery. And how we face the unknown is really what makes us human.
Of course. Wow. So well put. So well put.
Thank you. Send your
Everyone
credits to Carlton and Damon. Send your thanks to them. Yeah,
But yeah, I will.
strange. It's really strange to see these feudal things play out. I don't. Again, there's no shows that really do that. Where here's some characters like their entire being is wrapped up in this one thing that's going to be totally useless. It's like, thanks.
Yeah, that's so lost. I will also throw in Charlotte, because I remember when it's like, oh, I'm a paleontologist or like whatever she said.
Wait, that's Australian. She wasn't Australian.
I'm sorry, that was my best.
That was a really good Australian.
That's not what she sounded like. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. I guess I can't do her voice, but yeah, was she not Australian? She wasn't Australian.
No. She
Um,
better not have been.
it was like, oh, that's gonna be awesome. She's gonna go like explore the ruins on the island, and we're gonna find out all these.
She's gonna find Adam and Eve and give us a real answer.
Yeah, about the age of the clothes. Or she's gonna go like check out the four-toed statue. She's gonna be like, "Hey, well, actually, that comes from the Paleolithic period when humans created." And it's like, "Oh shit!" Like we're gonna find out all these answers about the ancient history of the island. You know what she discovers about the ancient history of the island? Fucking zero. Not a goddamn thing.
Yeah. It's
Not one fucking thing.
It's really a great example of, what's that phrase, not seeing the forest through the trees? It's like when you're in that detailed macroscopic level of having a subject matter expert coming to the island, you're so invested in what they can bring that you're not thinking about the big picture, which is that how many times have we seen these people come up with nothing before, Basically everybody who's done any science.
Right.
Even later at the end when Woodmore comes back and he's like, I need to find these pockets of energy. I got a map. It's like, that still comes to nothing.
It's kind of bullshit. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, did Jacob even tell you about that? Or is that like, back when I was here as another, like, this thing was nagging me, these pockets of energy. And like now that I'm here,
he seemed to be of two minds at the end there. Of like half was the noble Jacob sent me guy, and half was the, Charles Widmore entrepreneur, conglomerate owner. He's just trying to find a way to monetize things.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, he's gonna like set up a carnival where like Locke is
The
an
new
attraction,
the
you
new
know?
Jurassic Park where come to the island and see the pockets or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like, and look at the flying smoke monster. Look how he
Hmm.
flies and swoops.
And smokes.
And also like the sort of ruthless tycoon that murdered the Ajira people.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like that's sort of a beat of the story that is really underplayed for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I'm still so confused by that. I guess I understand why they wanted to get them out of the way, but I'm just surprised they didn't make any kind of a deal about who did it.
Hmm.
like like it was just like who cares who did it, you know? Like it's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I on the one hand, I guess I understand who cares who did it because none of those are our characters.
Yeah.
But it's like why introduce a mystery if you don't care what the answer is and you're never gonna answer it. You know, like
That's very close to saying why lost. But I get your point. Well, what was worse with the Agiris thing is we were already feeling, moral something. What's the word? That it was morally wrong to even have them come back on that plane with all these innocent
yeah,
people. Because then
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, well now these, because like, we talked about it at the time. Hurley could have bought all the seats on the plane,
Hmm.
or whatever, and just made it where it
Yeah,
was completely empty. But no, okay, now we have innocent people who are going to be stranded, and then those innocent people just get killed.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and there's really no and I guess I felt the same way about the A-15 survivors, because they're all eventually gonna get killed too,
Hmm.
and I mean presumably we're supposed to believe that the characters, the main character of the show, the ones who were there in the afterlife and so on, those are the ones that they were really connected with, that they had real bonds with, the ones that they really cared about the most.
Yeah.
And I buy that. But at the same time, with the A-15s, I mean, they lived with them for like quite some time, stranded on this island. It's weird how like there's sort of no pause to like be like, man, all the red shirts are dead. You know?
No. Yeah, no, I'm also thinking like, why wasn't Frogurt in the church at the
Yeah,
end? He
yeah,
had some,
yeah, yeah,
he had
yeah.
some moments. Arts.
Ours also, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
I
it's
feel
just
like
like
there's like a reject Flash Sideways with Arts and Frogurt and those people
mhm.
where they look around and go, ugh.
This kind of sucks.
Yeah, this is no one here is interesting. Yikes. This is what we made together? Ugh. You got Nikki Apollo and Arnst and Frogurt.
Oh
Oh, that's a
man.
good parody. I'd like to see like
Oh,
the
man.
alternate version, the other side of the church, and the
Mhm.
reject characters going.
I, I mean, they did have Arst and Frogurt in the Flash Sideways,
Hmm.
but they weren't in the
Yeah,
church. So like they were important enough to like bring them back in season 6, but it does seem like they weren't important enough to like mourn their deaths.
yeah.
So it's kind of weird, and also there's a scene in season 4 when Kimi comes to attack the barracks, and the red shirts who are there with them, like they start running out, and one by one they
Yeah,
get shot,
yeah. It was really comical.
and then, and then like Sawyer runs out, and of course he lives.
Hmm.
He's able to get out, but it's just kind of it does seem like it's played for comedy, like
Yeah.
it's just, and there's never like these people believed in Locke.
Hmm.
They listened to his speech and they followed him here and they put their lives on the line here, and like they got shot for it, and it's like there's just no, it's just like LOL, look at them like being killed off one by one.
Yeah.
I do think this show like did live in a weird moral world as far as like who matters and who doesn't. You know, whose death can we laugh at, and
Hmm.
who are we got who gets like the life and death theme, and we're gonna like put a lot of emotion into their death.
Yeah.
You know, like they definitely had a range there of like how serious it was.
Hmm.
You know, it's weird. I never really thought about it in from a larger point of view. But I guess I mean Ajiro wasn't played for comedy, it was played for mystery. But it was like ultimately not important to anyone,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, I just think that's weird. I also think like it just, if Whitmore did it, it just means something kind of strange about his presence there in the final season that's not really acknowledged on screen,
Hmm.
you know.
He was almost like he's almost a Deus Ex Machina. I mean, he's there to kind of clean up some of the,
Do all the shit that like, yeah,
yeah, some of
sort of
the
like
tie
make
up
the
some
story
loose
work.
ends, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I guess that's basically what he is. He's like, I'm gonna, you fuckers can't make this story work by yourselves because you don't have what you need. So I'm gonna come in here with my sonic fence
Yeah.
and my map of like pockets,
Yeah. Pocket map.
and I'm gonna get rid of these pesky Ajir people because you don't
Yeah.
want to have to
I'm
deal
gonna
with them.
give you that war you claim was coming, so I'll
Yeah,
lob a couple of mortars at the
yeah.
beach.
2 missiles. That's the war. Thank you. Good night. There's a war
That's
coming,
the
John,
wall.
and it's going to last five
Yep.
seconds.
Yep. 5 second war.
Yeah, and it's like he, oh, and he brings Desmond too.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, I mean, you're right. He's like he's a plot
He's a
function.
fairy god plotter
Yeah,
or something. Yeah. He just brings all the
yeah,
things you need to kind of wrap things up quicker.
yeah, and they just kind of wrap all that up into, and so it's like it's not really a character. It's like it's a tool.
Because really, they could have just had the Ajira people flash off the plane.
Yeah,
Some of them flash to the 70s. Why can't the
yeah,
other ones just flash and it's just a mystery where they went?
yeah. Yeah, it seems like that would have been easier.
Hmm.
I mean, you know, and they could have had like Alana goes with them, and then it's like, who are you? You know, and like what's going on? And then like they could have, it could have played out like pretty much the same way,
Yeah.
just without the annoying Ajira people, where it's like at a certain point, well, we just need to kill them because like we're not gonna devote time in season 6 to like dealing with the Ajira passengers, you
Yeah.
know? Like let's go over there and you know like interact with them and tell them what's going on and like fuck
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Welcome to the island. Here's what you missed.
Yeah, we're just gonna fill you in real quick on
Uh,
the last like 6 seasons. Yeah, it's just, yeah, like I totally get it from a certain point of view, like why they didn't want to deal with it. But yeah, I do feel like they shouldn't have created that problem for themselves because they definitely had a way to avoid it,
yeah.
you know, and it would have been fine.
But what about not in Portland?
Oh, good point. Good point. Oh my God. I guess there was a connection there, but it was a long way from not in Portland a
It was
bit.
all about loss. So
It was. Yeah, so not in Portland. I mean, I know Zelchko is in this episode.
hmm Zelchi.
Ubiquitous television actor
Yeah.
who, by the way, he was also in the X
Of course
Files.
he was.
Yeah, that's, I mean, like that's the least surprising thing ever. But
Yeah, he's got to be.
but it was really weird because he was a lot younger, and but he was still kind of the same. He's, yeah,
Yeah.
he's always like kind of evil.
Vaguely scary.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's great at that.
he's been doing that on TV for like
Yeah.
more than 20 years now.
I feel like J.K. Simmons has that same thing where he shows up everywhere, but he's usually jovial. You know, he's usually a little more fun kind of a character.
Yeah,
But yeah, this Zelchko, he shows up. He's usually the bad guy. He's usually conflict.
he's often like some kind of bureaucrat.
Yeah.
You know, like some kind of corrupt bureaucrat, unethical, like you know.
Hmm.
And that's totally what he's playing here.
Yeah.
You know, like that's because he the thing I think he really works for a part like this because it's not really developed. I mean, he has to like be this character in like 2 or 3 scenes,
Hmm.
and he has that quality that kind of communicates a lot with like not that much
Yeah.
in terms of screen time.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I guess that's where typecasting really comes into play. Like you get something just out of like what the person comes off as without anything sort of
Yeah.
from the writing.
And when you're an actor like this that's been in a lot and people have seen you in a lot of things, you bring all that
Yeah,
with you.
the
You
baggage.
know,
Yeah.
you automatically have a sense of, what you're bringing to the character before you even do anything.
Yeah, they know what to expect.
Yeah.
Um And yeah, and I mean, I remember all the mysteries that we get in this episode. You know, it's the introduction of Richard Alpert,
Yep.
which I mean, who's seeing this episode had any idea like how far that Richard thing would go? You know,
Hmm.
like I mean, he's that fucker is there to the bitter end.
The first other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who would have guessed this is the first other?
Yeah.
I mean, that was not obvious at all. I was really surprised. I was surprised by that in season 6, and I would be even more surprised by it now.
Yeah.
You know, and this whole recruitment of like, we're this like research company and like come do
Middleos.
research with us. Yeah, Middleos Bioscience,
And the
exactly.
is an anagram for what, kids?
Uh, is it oh shit. Is it Lost
Lost
Time?
time.
Right, right, right. I was getting it confused with Hofsdraller,
Oh,
funeral
jeez.
parlor from the
Australer
end.
funeral parlor.
Yeah, or Hofsdraller funeral home. I don't remember.
Yeah, Australer funeral parlor sounds really hilarious. It's just like
Yeah, it
some
does.
sort of animated comedy series, a talking funeral parlor or something.
You're right. You're right. I think it's not quite as cartoonish as that,
Uh,
but maybe it is. We'll see. But yeah, that's like flash forward or something.
yeah,
And then Ethan Rom,
yeah.
like they liked that. Let's wink a little. I remember thinking that was a bit more significant, but now I look back and it just seems kind of like, an Easter egg,
It's totally an Easter egg. It doesn't, yeah.
not particularly significant.
I mean,
Uh,
it connects to some of the themes, but it doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah, yeah, but it is kind of, uh, yeah. Well, we'll get into it when we actually watch the episode. But
Hmm.
like the whole recruitment thing is like filled with questions that I still don't know the answers to.
Well, let's see if we can get some answers.
All right, sounds good.
All right, well, everybody, if you're gonna sync up with this, get your players ready. We'll not in Portland this thing up.
It's a verb now.
All hyphenated and verbed. All right, let me know when you're ready.
I am ready.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh man, I love Jack yelling.
He's great at it. I didn't get you to
He's
ask me. What are you doing here?
just do it and hope.
Like no one has ever said hope like that.
I know. Like the way he chooses to like emphasize the line, like that's what the actor brings to the table,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, it's been a while since we did the last podcast, so it kind of
True.
mimics the that hiatus we had before this came back.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a good point.
Oh, what a shot!
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah, this
Blu-ray.
is
High
indeed
def.
the best quality ever, according to Carlton and Damon. The highest quality that technology can
Yeah,
ever
Lost will
deliver.
never look as good.
But yeah, this is I would say a classic misdirection lost thing here.
Hmm.
We are highly set up to think that this is the island. This is a Dharma station. We got flickering
Yeah.
lights. We got Ethan's gonna walk by here in a second, and everything here is like okay, it's a flashback to the others on the
Yeah.
island, and they're really messing with throwing Ethan in
Yeah.
there.
Even a record player. I mean,
Yeah, record player. Yeah, totally. And it's like, oh man, what's going on with the others? Like,
what? There's another woman?
yeah, yeah, who's that? What's up with her? What's she doing? But yeah, it's weird. It's like Ethan is spying on her or something. Like I've always wondered about that opening bit. Like, what are we supposed to? Why is he there?
Good question.
I mean, I know like Richard Alpert's gonna recruit her, and we know Ethan's there. We see him at the end, but it's just weird. He just kind of passes her in the hallway, like
Maybe to
it's.
sell the misdirection.
Well, yeah, clearly that's the reason. But like, what's the quote unquote real reason?
Yeah, I don't know.
It definitely sells the misdirection. I would never guess like we're gonna see Ethan off the island in this episode.
Mm.
Needles. Oh yeah, and she's on Deadwood, Juliet's sister.
Oh yeah?
She plays like a main character. She's completely different from this character. She's actually really, really good on that show. I remember being really shocked. She doesn't look.
Uh-oh.
She's really different.
This the island
What?
and there's a plane.
What? And then yeah, then they have a plane go by. Oh my god. Yeah,
Nice.
it was well done. Oh, here's the thing. It's sort of they replay the scene
Hmm.
from earlier.
Yeah.
And I think this time we're gonna get to hear the cut lines.
Okay, yeah.
And so that whole time where I've been like, man, why is Jack such an asshole? Like, okay, I guess I was wrong. Yeah, so I got that at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess as much as we hate Pickett at this point, it's like, and as much as he's been harassing Sawyer
Yeah.
for no particularly good reason,
Well, it's the perfect ending to them being trapped in those cages and the
yeah,
frustration of that fish biscuit machine
yeah,
and Sawyer trying to set up the execution and like yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love it when the others are like that. No, you won't, Jack.
I read your file.
I know what you'll do.
Wait, what?
What?
Don't lost me right now. Oh, lost.
They had to lost you.
Damn it. Yeah, this is so
Yeah.
confusing because she set this up.
Hmm. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. That's what I'm thinking at the
Now I'm
time.
just gonna have to watch this entire show.
Like how duplicitous can she be?
Yeah.
Is it double cross? Like what's going on?
Quadruple cross?
Yeah, how many crosses can you do, Juliet?
Just watch and find out. Old school cell phone.
Yeah. It's weird how at the time you don't think it looks dated.
Yeah. Flip phones, like nobody has a flip phone.
Yeah. It's true. I used to back then. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I kind of miss them.
Yeah, they were so bad.
Yeah, there was only like three things to do on it, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. It was simpler. It was a simpler time.
Ah, yes, the early 2000s. Oh, I remember this. Ugh.
Yeah.
I remember hating this scene. Let me figure out why.
Um, I think I'm trying to remember what I. Yeah, I agree. What didn't I like?
I
This.
think it's her how she responds to this, I think.
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's when she gets caught that it gets
Yeah.
weird. First of all, she thinks that's gonna work.
Hmm.
Like, okay, maybe if I just
She
crawl.
waited way too long to crawl away.
Yeah. Look at that.
Hey, I'm just hanging out on the floor. What? How did I get down here? What?
Oh, how's it going this evening?
Uh,
I'm just chilling down here. What are you doing? You
Einstein did his science on the
why
floor.
are you way up there?
Oh, are we standing up today? Is this a stand-up day? Okay. Ooh, this was huge.
Yep. I can't imagine her being married to this guy.
I, you gotta wonder how long that marriage
It
lasted.
couldn't have been long. It's like, yeah, I
He's
just
just rubbing it in her face, and yeah.
yeah, like I didn't really think about this at the time, but yeah, it's hard for me to imagine what would have drawn her
Like,
to.
turn off the lights because this is the best place we can be to go, like,
Yeah,
make out and stuff.
yeah, like that's all you got. Like, I mean, yeah, it's really weird.
Oh, that's right. He doesn't know.
Oh, that's how he finds out.
What?
Oh, a peaceful revolution.
A peaceful revolution.
Uh-oh. Tom's like, I'm not your daddy. I don't want to deal with this. I called you Julie because I know you.
Yeah, that's how I'm. It's emotional.
You read his file. It's funny that she says that because that's exactly what she was trying to get him to do.
Hmm.
You know, and it's like if she really thought he would never do it, then why was she trying to get him to do it?
I want to come back to that bit of illogical nonsense.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point.
because that was them dealing with that subplot, and they really just kind of fly right over it. It's not, they don't really make a thing of it. It's kind of disappointing.
We need a boat.
Got to get a boat.
Oh, this is when I'm like, yeah, Ben's awake.
Oh yeah,
Wow, what a
I
crack
remember
shot.
that. Like, wow, he shot the walkie-talkie.
Yeah. How did he get out?
Uh,
Someone just let them out of the
I'm
cage?
assuming the others came and found Pickett in there because I think it was just Pickett. And then he's like, "Come with me. We gotta get him."
Yeah.
Something like that. I remember this too. I forgot. That's not just Juliet's flashback. There's some crazy shit on the island in this episode. They really, yeah, they jam packed this one, and it's an action episode.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's all out. It's like Lost is back, guys.
Oh yeah, don't forget
Mm.
Alex.
Oh yeah, I got my trusty slingshot.
Yep. It's better than the gun because you can never run out of rock.
Yeah, the others have like shitloads of guns, but I just
Yeah.
refuse to use them. Now, please follow me to my hiding
Yeah.
hole.
Yeah, hidey hole.
I just made this hidey hole in case I needed to hidey.
In a hole. And it's like she made it right here. Like, why here of all places?
It just seems really random.
Yeah.
I don't really buy it. Like, it seems like something that should be a
Where'd they
trap.
go? This is like Scooby Doo. They went and hid in a trash can, and the villain's like, "Where'd they go?"
You're right.
And then Shaggy and Scooby pop their heads out with like a half-eaten apple on his head.
Yep.
That was close, Scooby.
Zoinks!
That's what the show is missing. One good zoinks. Yeah, I knew he was awake.
Yeah. Yeah. No surprise there. Juliet, this episode had nothing to do with her.
Who, me? Oh, I know how you got your job.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like he's the kind of guy who wouldn't let her divorce him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, he must have wanted to call it quits because I feel like she's not strong-willed enough to leave,
Yeah.
and he's too domineering to let her.
Yeah.
He's like, "You turned 35. You're too old for
Yep.
me."
Yep. I feel like that's what we're supposed to think because he's just taking the new research assistant and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And he'll discard her later and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I thought the subtitle said "Drink chimpanzees." I was like waiting for him to say that line. Okay.
We'll drink chimpanzees. Well, I wasn't interested at all, Edmund, but then he talked about drinking chimpanzees, and,
Yeah.
and that kind of
Yeah.
it kind of gave me a new perspective. I'm pacing, Tom.
You interrupted my pace.
Ben's a what?
Oh God. I'm a spinal surgeon, not an anesthesiologist.
That's funny. That whole line was like, okay, we know it's kind of weird that he's awake, but we're not going to explain it.
Yeah. That's better than a tunnel.
I feel like she probably does have baskets.
Yeah.
But he was.
Can you relate to that, Kate? Kate, can you relate to your boyfriend being prisoner?
But he wasn't supposed to be in that cage. And I thought you said he was dead.
Maybe I did. You can't see
I
her.
know. Yeah, that was weird. His,
He can look over there. He can't see
his
her.
he's like face
He can see her.
down.
He can see her knee, maybe.
Yeah.
I know those knees anywhere.
I mean, the editing somehow works, but it doesn't really
Yeah.
make sense physically. Because, like, I guess because the way they're framing this, his face is sort of
It
parallel to
looks like.
Jack's.
Yeah.
And so it sort of seems like he should be able to look at her.
Hmm.
But, yeah,
But he's really face down, but
exactly.
like that.
Yeah. And Jack is leaning over.
Yeah.
So, yeah. 3 minutes? That's our thing.
3 minutes.
We give people 3 minutes. You don't give us.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That's like 2001
Totally.
when Hal is like
Yeah.
looking at
Spying on
Dave with the
them.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It works.
After all of this time, he's like, "I'm Tom.
hmm
Get out of here."
I know. I know. Like, too little, too late. You could have introduced yourself to us before you terrorized us.
Yeah, remember Hunting Party?
hmm
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're wearing a beard.
This is our island. And you better stay on that side of this line.
They've got history.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. That's another thread of the show they didn't quite develop.
Hmm.
I feel like I think that element is a casualty of the writer's strike.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think they would have done a little more with that than they did. I think the other woman was setting up something that they never got to in season 4 because they decided it wasn't important enough.
That was a great twist to the story
It
there.
was.
So Juliet's gonna save Ben, but she's also gonna help them escape.
Yeah.
It's weird. Two things you don't expect at the same time. Yeah, see, this looks so fake.
Yep. Privately funded also means like corruption.
Yeah, yeah. It means no oversight.
Just
No
for the
control.
record.
That's what freedom is, right? Freedom leads to corruption.
I mean, it can mean like manipulation. I mean, it can mean a lot of things. I don't know, but whatever. Okay, he's duplicitous.
Yeah. He was really upset about it.
He was so sad. Have you ever seen mouse tears?
They're really tiny. Smell like cheese.
Oh yeah, so this beat here is something that I think they never followed up on.
Hmm.
Like, is this something they just fabricated to like look weird and entice her, or are we supposed to believe this is real? Because there's never a scene later about like this mysterious like young woman who looks
Well,
like an old
I
woman inside.
I mean, I guess you could assume that this is since they have this equipment on the island. This is a woman who was 26 who had a problem getting conceiving,
Hmm.
like one of the others. And these are her X-rays.
Yeah, yeah. But I just feel like they never quite make that connection. That like, oh, they're aging inside or something, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah, no, for sure. They don't ever really make it specific.
Yeah. But I guess you're right. I mean, I guess that could be the explanation.
Or he could just be lying, and it is a woman of 70, and
Hmm.
he's just lying to get her
That's why I
there.
was
But it
saying like a
could go either
fabricated
way.
thing.
Yeah, I'm not a mess now.
Hmm. That's exactly what that meant.
Yeah,
I'm a mess as in I'll mess your face up. Caught on camera.
uh-huh.
Nice try.
I'm gonna turn this knob. That's the zoom in
Is
knob.
that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh hell. Not her again.
Oh, that's a weird. I think that was a little
It
weird.
was weird. Oh man, this guy.
Yeah, not sunny in
Fucking
Philadelphia.
Aldo.
Wait, what's it called?
It-
Wait, is that
it's
him?
always sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's him, right?
It's him. It's him. Yeah, it's weird because I saw this first. And and they give him a name, which is crazy because he's such a red shirt character.
Yeah.
He's reading A Brief History of Time,
Hmm.
and they bring him back in season 6.
What are you making notes about in a brief history of time?
Yeah, that's weird.
Why?
Why?
Yikes! He lifted him up
Yep.
high. Wait, why did you do that? Star Wars? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Room 23.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Crazy shit. Cause like this blew my mind at the time.
Yeah, it still blows my mind, but not in a good way.
Not in the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
More as in a like, are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, can you imagine if Jacob knows what's going on here, what he would think
Yeah.
about this?
No. I I don't even want to know. I'm afraid to ask. Cause yeah, this is crazy. And I mean, this is Dharma shit. So
Yeah.
it's like, what are you doing, Ben? Like, this is where Dharma would take the others, and now you're taking Carl. And it's just like his excuse for it is just so flimsy. And
Yeah.
it's just like it was the most disappointing answer. Like, oh, I guess I overreacted. Are you kidding? Like, really?
Yeah, that's like Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh, I guess I overreacted. I
Hmm.
killed and ate all those
Yes,
people.
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, the Jacob reference, like all this stuff, like it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, like what are the others up to? Like what's their deal? Do they brainwash everyone? Like it
Yeah.
raises all these questions that, you know, don't really have answers or they have bad answers.
Yeah. The
There's the Groot.
scientist.
That's the
Yeah.
Groot.
Yeah.
Where's the Groot? It's
So
to clean on the boat.
why did Dharma have videos talking about Jacob?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, they knew about Jacob, and that is where like they would take the others and like interrogate them. But like, why would they talk about Jacob? It's kind of weird.
Because I do.
Damn it, Pickett. I knew one day it was gonna come down to me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, nobody likes
Portland.
Portland.
I'm in Miami.
Portland is like the
Dude,
worst
it's like
city
the opposite of
ever.
Miami.
Yeah, it's true.
Not that I've been to either places, but I know it's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me either, actually. But I've seen Portlandia and I've seen Dexter.
That's all you need. Those are both documentaries.
That's how I took them. It
Wait,
worked.
what worked?
It worked.
Wait, what worked? Wait, was she trying to cure her of cancer or get her pregnant?
Get her pregnant, I think.
But doesn't she have cancer?
Yeah.
Or it's wearing that scarf decoratively?
I think she was trying to get her pregnant in spite of the fact that she has cancer.
Wow, that seems ethically
Oh, I think
ambiguous.
it's supposed to be. Yeah. I mean, I think the idea is she's only doing
Because
it.
if there's one thing that's easy in your body, it's
Yeah.
pregnancy.
I mean, I think we're supposed the only she's just doing it because it's her sister. Like
Yeah.
that's why she's with the
And to prove
ethic.
she's good at this, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Oh man, and then this
Uh,
scene.
Watch out for that bus. It's waiting there.
Yep.
It's just waiting down there.
Oh, and that we sort of talked over it, but that's one of those like classic scenes where it's like, it's because you're an insufferable bitch. All right, talk to you later, mom.
Yeah.
It's like this guy's an asshole. It's code for that.
Yeah.
Don't walk in the streets. Oh God.
Nobody does
I
that though.
know.
Nobody walks into the street to turn around and talk.
He looked like he wanted to get hit. Like
Yeah.
it's awkward. But man, was that shocking. Why didn't they cut to
Yeah, I know.
Jacob driving the bus? Really?
Because Jacob can't drive. Come
He
on.
can't drive? Why not?
He never got his
Yeah,
license.
bah, he doesn't need a license. He can just sort of figure it out, you know? It's a good question. The audience might be asking.
Yada yada yada. God.
Mhm.
Yada yada yada. Surgeon falling out of the sky. I don't have what it
Oh
takes.
shit. Better count to five, Jack.
It's got to five. Don't let the fear get you.
Right?
Stop admiring my ride and help me.
Yeah, is this really the time? So is this an outrigger?
I think this is an
Okay,
outrigger.
is this like the first big outrigger?
Yeah, yeah, no, she was the original outrigger.
Yeah,
She got the original
that's what
one.
I thought.
I don't know if all the outriggers have sails
Yeah, that's
though.
true. That's true.
This is the sail
This is like
outrigger.
fancy.
Yeah.
No, Sawyer. It's hilarious.
Oh, they're all gonna die now.
Yep. Well, probably just Sawyer, but
Oh,
I guess not him either. Nice
Colleen's gonna be pissed.
shot.
Oh wait, she's dead.
Good point. Oh yeah, Tom is like squeamish about blood. It's like, oh
Yeah,
man, really?
character development.
Uh, meh. I,
Yeah, it's kind of like, well,
I don't quite
yeah.
buy that, but I think he wants her to stay.
Yeah. He got that one
Yeah,
right.
I know.
She's like, ugh, young love.
I think also it's kind of have they am I wrong? Have they acknowledged on screen that this is Rousseau's daughter? I feel
No.
like they haven't.
No, not at all. That's why they keep saying Ben's her father
Yeah,
and nobody's batting an eye. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's weird. She's like Ben's daughter first.
well, we just saw her the last episode, right, for the first time?
No, no, no. She was a while ago too, because remember like when they're working on the rock, she comes.
Yeah, was that a, oh, that wasn't, that was a
I
couple
think that
episodes
was a
ago, yeah.
couple. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a couple. No, no, they have not revealed that.
Yeah, that's so strange. I guess I'm so used to knowing that I just assume everyone knows, but they haven't really said it. Make up your mind, Jack. First it was the suction.
Suction in, he wants both.
Yeah, God, you can't have it all. You're not Liz Lemon.
Nice.
The blonde woman.
God, he's got no room for him. Oh, that's the story?
Like angel hair pasta.
Delicate, yet
Like if I were
delicious.
her, I wouldn't forget that line, but it
Yeah.
was really memorable. And then Christian told you
Why is she upset?
it's weird. I don't know.
I'm really confused on why she's breaking down.
I don't know. She's like remembering the time. She's like worried about Jack with the others. Like, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to think.
I guess maybe she's remembering how far they've come or
Yeah,
something, and
it's
it's so.
emotional. Yeah, it seems kind of non-specific.
Mhm.
But she didn't mention the part where Christian told him to count to five. And then he was like, "Dad, not again." I said turn it off.
One more second, he would have said that.
Okay, yeah, see they're playing life and death. That's weird. It's weird how like
They're playing it like they'll never see Jack again, and I'm not
yeah,
sure why that those stakes were
yeah,
there. I mean, they are leaving
yeah,
him. Yeah, it's tough.
yeah.
But it's like they knew they were leaving him
Right.
before. they called, but it was just weird that once she said the story, they all started to break through.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess it just brought it home or reminded. I don't know. It's strange, but they're like really, really lingering on this.
But we don't ever see Jack again after this. Oh, this is it for him.
I forgot that this was the last.
Yeah, this is Jack's farewell episode. Oh, Zelchi.
Yep. R.I.P.
Is she really the next of kin, or is she just the main character in his
Yeah.
Where's that
The
research
main
assistant?
character in his life. We contacted the highest ranking cast member.
Yeah, exactly. Please fill out on the form the highest ranking cast member so we can call them first.
So why is she sad?
Don't
I hate
know.
not to like question every time someone cries, but like I don't. I,
No, I think it's good to question emotional stuff on shows because a lot of times they're like I always think when characters fall in love in 2 seconds, it's like why are you in love? I didn't see it.
yeah,
Where it happened?
yeah,
I think she's upset at probably just in shock of it. It was such a shocking thing for him to die so
yeah.
suddenly.
That's true. That's true. Oh, and there is also the fact that she made the comment about like the only way I'll take the job is if like he got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
So maybe that has something to do with it.
Why didn't Jack negotiate his own
Yeah, he
release?
really should have. That was kind of a fuck up on his.
He had the most power he will ever
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Well, actually, technically, Ben said if you do the surgery, you can leave the. I will let you leave the island.
Well, but they that was before he
That's a
double
good
crossed
point. He
him.
doesn't have to honor the agreement, but
Yeah.
you owe America an answer.
Ha!
You will not keep this a secret.
He said flashback. I just keep waiting for his body to reanimate.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not dead,
Kind of feels
Juliet.
like that sort of scene.
What?
Mm. Didn't I pass you in the hallway like a while ago?
Yeah. I'm Tom Cruise's cousin.
So no.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say Ethan was keeping a tab on her, so that's why he knew where she was right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I think you're right.
I think it's weird he says hello to her because he should have been trying to be incognito,
Yeah.
but that was to sell the misdirection.
Here's the lost moment.
Yeah.
Like it's right here. I don't even remember you saying that.
And he looked away when he said that, and
Yeah, like
that's like he was lying.
yeah, yeah. And it's like I, you don't believe it at the
I
time, but now looking at it, like I'm just not sure.
Well, I think the Occam's razor answer is he's exactly right. Like it was just
Yeah,
it's look at using the tools we have now for the show. It's like no, it was just a coincidence. She said that he's probably telling the truth. He doesn't remember. It's really unlikely they could have orchestrated
Yeah.
that. They've never seemingly have orchestrated anything like that before or since. And it's all about the meaning she wants to place
Yeah.
on this situation,
Yeah.
you know. But the way they write it, it's so well done because you want, you know, he didn't have to say, "I don't even remember you saying
Mm-hmm.
that."
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's
He could have been like, "Oh my God, you're right. You did say
mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
coincidence."
That's why I feel like that's the lost moment because it's
Yeah,
like it's
it's the perfect culmination of all those ideas. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah. And it just adds to the ambiguity.
it's like he said he'd hit me with a bus.
That was of course also the not in Portland reveal. I mean, seeing
Hmm.
Ethan there kind of solidifies it, but if we didn't get it yet.
Selfish.
Mm-mm-mm.
And I'm leaving.
Because it'll be awkward if I just stand here.
Yeah, then you'll talk to me. But Jack's like, that was what he promised
Yeah,
me.
wait a minute.
We can't all go
I
home.
remember at the time there were some like crazy conspiracy theories that that's not what he said, and people were like trying to read his lips, in that shot.
Oh, was that us?
Yeah, we might have, it's possible. We participated in a conspiracy theory or two. But
Yeah, one or two.
in retrospect, I think that probably is what he said. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It works. Um, yeah, so I think this was like super refreshing at the time.
Hmm.
After those first six, that felt really like insulated and like not that interesting.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, finally, like we're back to like lost stuff, like crazy mysteries, weirdness.
Hmm.
We get more information about the others. We get a new like perspective on them. We get this thing with Carl and Room 23. Um and we get Pickett dies finally.
Yeah. Pickett
Um
dies. We get Alpert showing up and being crazy.
yeah, like it sort of feels like the island plot is wrapped up, even though they are going to stay there for one more infamous episode.
Yeah. It's another thing that Lost is good at with the writing, the structure. It's like in this episode, we get the beginning of her being another, bookmarked with possibly the end of her being another, with her ticket off the island. And now and she's told us exactly the time in
Right.
between, 3 years, 2 months,
Hmm.
and 28 days or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just that they do that a lot with the way they position their flashbacks and kind of the island story. It's really interesting to get those very two specific points in time in the same episode.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's nicely done. It's nicely done. And I think also like even though it's an off-island flashback, it's a um mythological flashback. Like it's a
Hmm.
flashback with like mysteries in it. And like most flashbacks aren't like that.
Yeah.
So that kind of sets it apart, I think, from most episodes. And I think coming back like this was a really good move
Hmm.
because I think it really brings you back in. If you had any doubts in the first part, where you're like, is Lost still like okay? Like, did they completely lose it? I remember at the
Hmm.
time, I hate discussions like this because it's just kind of it's a stupid concept. It just doesn't mean anything. But it's like, did Lost jump the shark? You know, like
Yeah, I hate
I
that.
hate it too, but people will say that, as though there is such a thing as like
Hmm.
here's it's like, come on. I bet Happy Days was like really shitty well before that happened.
Yeah.
Like there's no way like that's somehow like that happened and everything changed. Like
Hmm.
it's a progression.
It's one of those things where it became a phrase to describe something, so people were really eager to just
Apply
use
it.
that
Yeah.
phrase to talk about things where, um, where it would have to be really, and I think they misuse it
Yeah.
too. Is this where Lost got bad?
Mhm.
Like that's not the same as jumping the
Right.
shark. Jumping the shark is really specific.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Not that many shows have like a jumping the shark,
yeah.
moment. Because it's really, yeah. I mean, I've seen it a few times, I think, but it's special.
Yeah, exactly. It's a unicorn. It's not a
Yeah.
horse. It's not every show's capable of doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. I think you kind of go back and forth, coming off of what we saw before with Juliet and going, oh man, she's
Hmm.
awesome, and then it's like, oh, whoa, okay. Now she's selling these guys out
Yeah.
and shooting people, and yeah, I remember this leading into next to Left Behind and One of Us, how you don't know if you can trust
Yep.
her, and you sort of seesawing on that back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, and they really play that for the rest of the season. I mean, I would say by the end she's in the like you trust her camp, but they definitely want to keep that going. And by the end of this episode, you still don't know if you can trust her, definitely.
Yeah.
Um and
I think by the end of the show, you don't know if you can trust her. I kid, Julia. She's walking through the light in the church. I'm like, I don't trust that. I don't trust her.
What are you after?
Watch out, Sawyer.
I will say that I think the sort of lack of clear answers for a lot of the mysteries in this episode, um, like keeps it alive to a certain extent and
Hmm.
makes it rewatchable. But I think that sort of punchy, like surprise endings like this one,
Hmm.
like do lose something when you watch them again. I mean, I sort of feel that way about Walkabout, it's when you have that kind of M. Night Shyamalan ending where it's like, you rethink the whole episode.
Hmm.
It's when you watch it, like you can watch it one more time and then say, "Oh, now that I
Yeah.
know the answer, then I look at it." But then that's kind of it, you know.
That's the trade-off you get. That's really, I mean, there's only in a story, there's only so much potential payoff and energy and whatever you want to kind of call it. And you can do certain things to put a lot of that in the beginning. You can put that in the end. You can change up the structure and have it sprinkled out. But like, it's the same thing like when you start a story with a flash forward, and especially if it's the flash forward, it's like the climax of your story, and oh man, so you're starting off your story really strong, you're going to hook the audience, but then your next scene, you went from 100 level interest, now you're down to zero, because now this is where your story, when they go, and now 24 hours before, or two
Hmm.
weeks earlier, and then the audience goes, ugh, now we have to ramp back up to this where we started in the story,
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, you only have so much to play around with, and definitely when, that's kind of the trade-off when you have a punchy ending or something like that, where you, like you're saying, reevaluate everything you've seen, then you can watch it one more time knowing that you need to reevaluate everything, and sort of analyzing it from that perspective, and then you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
And then if you watch it again, there's got to be something else
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
moment that I really like now is I don't even remember you saying that. You know? Like
Yeah.
that's to me that's the really interesting line there. Whereas the first time it was like, "Huh?" And then, "Oh shit, that's how she got to the island." It blew me away. Definitely the first
Mhm.
time it really works.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's gone. Now that is like, yeah, I know already. You know?
Hmm.
And it's really the like really like I it's he plays it like right down the middle. I really like Nestor Carbonell in this episode, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I think he really makes a strong impression for,
Hmm.
just one series of scenes in a flashback. Like
Yeah.
it's you remember him pretty easily.
Yeah.
And and it's the first time we see him, and I really like how he plays that last scene. It's just on the line where it's like he could be totally lying and he totally knows that he set up that bus crash, or
Yeah.
it could just be like, yeah, I don't really,
Hmm.
he's being honest, you
Yeah.
know.
I think when he looks away when he says that line is because that's actually, looking. I think it's looking up and to the left or to the right or whatever is like a classic lying
Mm-hmm.
thing you people do subconsciously.
Yeah.
And so delivering that line and looking away really quickly does play it right down the middle of like he could be lying, he could not be lying, he could be making it seem like he's lying and he's telling the truth. Like there's levels there that could exist, and yeah, he played, and it almost doesn't matter,
Mm-hmm.
like if he whether or not he remembers what she said,
Right.
it doesn't matter. He still could have done it or not done it, but when you're trying to make the case and decide for yourself what you think happened, it's an interesting little
Yeah,
detail.
it's like, would they have set up if they set up the bus? I mean, were they just going to do that anyway? And it's a weird coincidence, you know.
Hmm.
It does sort of make me want like a later scene. I know it would be absurd. It doesn't even work, but it makes me want like Juliet to kind of re-confront him with that, you know,
Hmm.
at some point. Like, no, really, like, did you know? Did you set up that bus crash? Like
Yeah.
because in that scene when she's confronting him about it, like she's still like freaked out and really nervous, and she's not really saying like, "Did you set that up?" She's just
Hmm.
like, "What's up with that? Like that's isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?"
Well, because she doesn't know who they are. She
Yeah,
still thinks they're Middlelos.
right,
She doesn't know that they have anything sinister. She's still thinking it's Portland.
right.
So yeah, she's not even really able to re-question what he says. But yeah, it's later she'll be able to really go, okay, these guys have
Mm-hmm.
sources that I didn't expect.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, and then kind of
the, I,
reevaluate.
the fact that that bus was in the shot before he got killed and was just sitting
Mm-hmm.
there in the background does make it seem like you can play it like, okay, somebody was waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan or somebody knew his schedule.
Yeah.
He would walk across the street every day after work, usually alone because nobody likes him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can hit him with this bus. But really, what makes me think it's just a freak accident is the you know, if it's just a coincidence, she said bus, and they hit him by a bus. I feel like there's other ways to kill him. If the goal is to kill him so she leaves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then there's other ways to do that. But if the goal is to kill him in the specific way she hypothesized, that's so specific
Right.
and almost needless. And unless the point was to say, I don't just need him dead. I need the universe to give me a sign.
Yeah.
And maybe that's sort of the subtext there is it needed to be a bigger thing than just he had a freak accident or he
Mm-hmm.
slipped in a bathtub. It's like, no, like the universe is giving you a sign because the one thing you said is the one thing that happened,
Yeah.
and what are the odds of that?
Yeah.
I just don't think the others have the ability to engineer something like that. I mean, they could have done the bus thing, but I feel like I said, it seems like the only reason for them to kill him with the bus is to prove a larger point to her, which I think is somewhat unnecessary unless they really are just trying to prove that point.
Right, but I guess that's what makes the thing is like knowing the others that we know, it seems less and less plausible that they would do that. But at the time, it makes it seem like they might be really that crazy.
Yeah.
To like, yeah, we're gonna give you the thing you asked for because yeah, it's kind of the
Mhm.
only way you'll agree. And like in defense of the idea that they did it, I'll say that they do like seemingly engineer some kind of car wreck to get Locke's dad later on in the season. It's at least it's heavily implied that that's how they get him.
Mhm.
And also there's the business with Nadia I feel like it's never quite resolved.
I think it's easier though to say you can hire somebody to kidnap people,
Hmm.
but like the timing of the bus speeding as he steps off the thing is more specific
Yeah, I see
than
what you're saying.
following somebody in a car and like knocking them off side of the road to capture them or to,
Yeah,
send some hitmen after Nadia.
yeah.
Like that bus has to be going full speed before he steps off. The timing has to be right.
But she gets hit by a car in kind of a similar way,
Mm.
and Jacob's there.
Oh, that I was thinking of something else. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So and there is some weirdness with like Ben's relationship with that. Like that guy was Widmore's, maybe. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of strange. But then Jacob's there, and so like the similarity of that scene, like she goes out in the street and like picks up keys
See,
or something, and like she
I would
stands up.
say I would say that's the difference though is we know Jacob was involved in that and it became supernatural. I don't think Jacob has an interest in this whole uh recruiting Juliet thing.
That's what I was wondering about. That's what I was talking about, like cutting to Jacob driving the bus or something. Like I wonder. I think you're right. I do feel like in the incident when we get all those flashbacks with Jacob, like touching all of the
Hmm.
candidates, we see all those moments, and then they have Juliet's flashback, and Juliet's flashback is just her like talking about her like parents getting divorced and like all this business that's going to tie in with the thing she does with Sawyer, and Jacob's not in it, you
Yeah.
know. And I feel like I don't know. I mean, the plot function it serves is hard to ignore, but I did take away from that like Jacob did not bring her there.
Yeah.
It does seem like that was the moment to put her thing in if Jacob brought her there, like he did everybody else.
Hmm.
And so it made me think, yeah, it's sort of the others doing that to solve this fertility problem. Did Jacob not care about the fertility problem? Did Richard talk to him about it? I mean, these are obviously unanswered questions.
Can we put together a timeline like so Juliet was recruited 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Is there a relative timeline for like that series of flashbacks when he goes to Saeed and well, no, they were all over the place. Yeah,
They
they
were
were all
all
over
over the
the time.
place.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot.
like he goes
Yeah,
to Kate when she's like, I don't know, 10 or
Kate and
11 or
Sawyer were
something.
kids,
Sawyer
and
was a kid, yeah, right after. But
yeah,
Jack is when he's an adult, but it's still several years ago. With Saeed, it's actually after they come back,
hmm,
from the island. It's like post freighter and all that stuff.
yeah, that's weird.
So which is, and with Hurley, it's also post. It's when he gets out of jail and he's like sitting in the taxi,
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, there's really there it does seem kind of random. I think that is also really curious. I don't know if they really thought it through because I mean at the time they do say candidate in the incident, but I sort of wonder if they thought the whole mythology of the candidates through at that point because if he chooses and touches sort of Saeed and Hurley by the way is the one who actually becomes the successor
spoiler alert.
um after they crash on the island the first time and leave, like that's just weird, right? I mean,
That made me think like he wasn't sure they were candidates until he
yeah,
saw their experiences on the island.
exactly, like they weren't originally intended to be brought there and they were just like collateral like the people on 316 or something, and then they became candidates. Like that's kind of weird though, like he's sort of evaluating
Well,
them.
it's maybe it's not the extreme of they weren't supposed to come to the island, but it was just it didn't matter if they came or not. Sort of
Yeah,
a
but that's kind of what I mean. I just mean
yeah,
like he didn't choose them to come like
yeah.
he did the others, like they were sort of marked to be brought there, and the others, Hurley and Saeed, were not until they left, you know,
Hmm.
and then they were marked to come back. You know, and it's sort of strange. And he even goes to the trouble. And this is another story point that I think is not really fleshed out. Seemingly, he even goes to the trouble to get Ilana, his daughter, to personally arrest Saeed and like forcibly take him on the plane.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's really strange.
Well, what does Jacob touching them really even mean? Because most of the people who came to the island, Jacob didn't touch. So what does it mean to say he touched the candidates?
I mean, yeah. Ugh. I mean, it's pretty vague. It's pretty vague. I assumed that it meant that he sort of marked them as candidates.
Maybe it was people who wouldn't order. He had to touch the people who wouldn't ordinarily have come to the island. Like somehow, maybe you could say that the other people on A15 would have gotten on that plane by
Hmm.
natural their natural destination in life.
But like
But
for Hurley, that feels really wrong, you know, because it feels like Hurley's thing is like really wrapped up in the island,
well, yeah, but that's right.
you
I mean, but
know.
doesn't that kind of prove the point? Like because he's already wrapped up in the island, he's
Hmm.
gonna be on that plane anyway. He doesn't need Jacob to lead him there.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're
Whereas the
saying.
people that he touched were people, well, obviously not Saeed and who's the other person?
Hurley.
Hurley. But the other people who he touched, before they came to the island, were the ones who needed to be led there by the magical touch.
Yeah, right.
Maybe something like that is the idea. But yeah, I mean, it is strange. It is, and I don't think they make that clear, or we're even supposed to think about that. Like when he touched them,
Hmm.
or not where he touched them, but when show us where Jacob touched you. But when he touched them, and
Yeah.
how that related to the original crash to the island.
Yeah, and the fact that he goes to Kate and Sawyer when they're children,
Hmm.
but Jack and Locke when they're adults. You know,
Like I would
it's
want to say he came to each person when they were at their most critical point or
hmm
something, But I mean that's debatable. I think with some of them.
yeah,
I mean with Locke it seems pretty clear.
yeah,
Sun and Jin, right at their wedding, that
yeah,
something seems about right, but it's their wedding is before Pike conscripts Jin into the underworld, so
right.
maybe that's kind of the pivotal point there.
Hmm.
Sawyer is a pivotal point. Kate's a pivotal
Definitely.
point because she's starting.
Yeah.
She's going to be born to run any second now.
Hmm.
It didn't seem to help, but
No, it didn't help at
and
all.
then who am I missing?
Jack.
And then I guess with Hurley, with Jack, what was Jack? Oh, Jack in the candy bar.
It's yeah, and it's after the count to five thing with
Oh,
the
that's right.
magician. I don't buy that that was such a big moment, but it was significant, clearly.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's really a big turning point the way some of those other things are, but
Hmm.
I mean they did make a big deal of it,
Yeah.
you know. But it does seem strange. Yeah, but maybe that's the idea. But could he just? I mean, uh, did he time travel or did he just like know where they were and go there, at whatever particular time?
I assume that's what the lighthouse was for, but I don't
Yeah,
know. I
me
mean, and
too.
that's the other thing with Hurley is it wasn't just about the touching. He gave him that case.
Yeah,
So that was
yeah,
another
yeah, yeah.
reason why it was more timeline specific when he needed to contact him.
Right, right.
Uh, yeah, it's a little weird. It's tough to, pretty much anything surrounding Jacob is tough to nail down.
Extremely, extremely. Yeah, and it's really hilarious actually. Like he gives that guitar case to Hurley, who proceeds to be transported to the 70s. Um where, I mean, he has that thing for a while in the 70s, and they're just hanging out there. And then like the incident happens and all that shit. And
Oops.
like luckily he's transported back into the future with the guitar case, and they bring the guitar case with them to the temple, and they break it open, and it's got, you're
Man, the guitar case saw some traveling.
hell yeah, it did.
Oh my god. I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Yeah, and then they open it and it's got the Ankh in it, and they open
Yeah.
the Ankh, and then there's a message for Dogen, and it basically tells him about the candidates and stuff. But it's like fucking Jacob. He was just sitting on the other side of the island. Like
Hmm.
like could have just walked up to Dogen and told him, but he goes to trouble of like leaving the island, giving Hurley a message that he takes to the 70s, then transports, it's what, like why? Like why couldn't you just go tell him? Like it's
Because he
crazy.
doesn't interfere except when he interferes.
I'm interfering now because I don't interfere.
Yeah, because of my non-interference, I have to interfere.
I have to interfere in this really strange way. Yeah, I mean, it's like it just seems unnecessarily. You were on the island, like why give it to Hurley? Dogen's like right over there.
Hmm.
Just go fucking talk to him.
When he gave it to, was Hurley already gonna get on the plane when he
No,
gave it to him?
I mean he gave it to him. He gave him the ticket, and he was like, "You should get on this
Yeah. See,
plane.
I think
It's
there
your
was something
choice."
about giving him a mission, but in terms of just the logistics of getting that information to Dogen, it is uh uh circuitous at the least.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just it's I don't know. I mean, and I mean, we know Jacob is not like really good about communication, but it really sort of illustrates that point concretely.
Yeah.
You know, like what the fuck? But that's who we have, and it's really hard to go back, because I was thinking about the incident and how, you know, um, at this stage in the game, like what Jacob is
Yeah.
versus what he is later. It's so hard to separate those things. But like Jacob was such a mysterious enigma for so long. I mean, all the way to the end of season 5, which
Yeah.
is like one season away from the end of the show basically. I mean, but then like they told us a lot of stuff about him.
Oops.
And it's hard to let that go, once it's so strange to go back and like, live in that world of like this kind of blank slate Jacob,
Yeah.
you know and like the Jacob reference in this episode, like I remember thinking it meant something, and I didn't really put it together, I think, at the time, that the thing is Dharma, you know like Ben didn't make that video, or the others didn't
Yeah.
make that video.
And
It's
and and as much as I think we want to imagine that he's trying to brainwash Carl to be an other, it's really just torture.
Yeah,
He just wants he knows this is a torturous thing to go through, and that's I think that's really the final word. Is it's not about brainwashing him and making him believe anything in particular. So the origin of this thing doesn't actually matter. What matters is he's just trying to punish Carl for dating his daughter. And I mean, would you agree with that? I mean, I feel like that's
well, I
the
mean,
final
what
word.
he says is that he didn't want Carl to get Alex pregnant because, yeah.
He doesn't want to. He's too young to be a granddad. That's why.
Well, no, I mean, because of the pregnancy issues.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The pregnant women die, like, and so.
Why not? Why not tell Carl, hey, if you get her pregnant, she's gonna die.
Wait a minute, you just blew my mind.
Pick your mind up and think about that. Why didn't he just say, hey, Carl, you know that we have a history of
Okay,
fertility issues, which is
look,
ask Juliet about it.
that
If you
that
get
has
her
not
pregnant,
been style.
if you get her pregnant, she's going to die.
Why do with a simple like conversation what you can do with an overly elaborate
Talk
plan?
about overreacting, right?
Yeah, no,
No,
you're totally
but I
right.
mean, my general point is that he wasn't, because I originally thought he was trying to, like Carl, is trying to run away and not fall in line with the others. So
Yeah.
this machine, this brainwashing machine, would get him in line. But it's like, no, this is a Dharma thing. A,
Hmm.
B, the others don't brainwash people into believing what they want.
Yeah.
So the answer has to be C, if my math adds up. Uh, that this is just torture, and it could have been some other form of torture if it was equally as interesting to watch on screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
I think
I
that's
think you're basically right. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a weird takeaway from that whole thing. Is just that, and and again, it goes back to the show and the theme of things not sort of being what they seem to be, and it's like, yeah, he's in this brainwashing machine, but he's not trying to brainwash him.
Right.
It's like classic Lost,
It is. It is.
What, you thought I was trying to brainwash him just because I hooked him up to a brainwashing machine?
Hmm.
Come on.
Why would you think that?
Why would you think that? It's your fault for thinking that.
It's so weird to like have, I mean, there's so many of these classic lost moments, but I really think because of this podcast, my perspective on what a classic lost moment is has changed.
Hmm.
Like I didn't really realize that these were classic lost moments at the time.
Yeah.
For example, I guess what I thought of classic lost back then was something very different.
Hmm.
But I think not having realized the sort of fundamental building block of the show, the thing that kind of makes the whole thing work, you know.
Yeah, I think that's the, maybe to kind of put words in your mouth. I think that's the revelation, is the original classic Lost moments were the overt things that,
Yeah.
the crazy twist, the
Hmm.
mysteries, the reveals. But the real classic Lost moments are the subtle things
Yeah.
that only going back do you go, oh wow, look how they did this thing.
Yeah.
Richard Alpert and the bus thing.
Hmm. Totally.
Like
I don't even
setting
remember
up,
you saying that.
yeah, setting up setting up this sort of environment to where, it's almost like building a framework for the audience and leading them through it, and they're not seeing the framework.
Yeah.
They're just going through and investigating, or thinking about what's
Hmm.
happening, and they don't see the intricate web that was built to get them there. Versus the other stuff, which was big and overt and
The
obvious.
flashier stuff.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
flashier stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That I think that's what really stood out at the time. It was like, "Oh my God, Ethan, they're off the island. The others, that's how she got to the island." Like it was more of that was drawing my attention. And
Hmm.
that other side of it, I think part of it was that other side of it was wrapped up in a cloak of hope
Yeah.
of like, well, it's ambiguous now, but like we're gonna get that answer later,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, yeah, just add it to the list. Like someday we're gonna find out. Like,
Yeah.
did Richard Alpert really remember that she said that? We'll know someday,
Mhm.
you
When
know.
when we get that episode, what Alfred remembers,
Yes,
and
exactly.
he's just gonna leave. It's a whole episode where he just lists all the things he remembers.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, it's sort of like, wow, how naive. But honestly, you
And
don't
I
know.
remember, and I remember this, and I remember that.
Like, but to be, to like defend like crazy old me from like 2000 whatever, like you don't know at the time that like it's ridiculous to expect that.
Yeah.
you know like it's like why not? I mean, I haven't seen the whole show yet. I don't know what the point of this show is.
Hmm.
Like maybe they really will like give me that scene of like Richard listing his remembrances.
Yeah. Dear diary, this is what I remember. It's he writing in calligraphy, of course.
Of course,
Yeah,
always.
he's old school that way.
He is very old school.
The oldest of schools.
Oh man.
But, that calls into question this whole idea that that Albert is on board with the fertility fixing stuff. Like,
Mhm.
if he's the emissary of Jacob, like, why does he think that's a good idea?
Yeah, and there is a scene later this season that we're gonna see where he's talking to Locke, and I remember he's telling Locke like, Ben's like distracting us with like frivolous stuff like fertility issues, but like there's bigger things going on this island, that you're
Mm-hmm.
not paying attention to, and he kind of shrugs off the fertility stuff, you
Interesting.
know,
Yeah.
and yeah, and like we'll get to that later. And I remember that at the time, like really standing out because he takes such an extremely active role here in the recruitment of Juliet, specifically for the fertility stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think of that, and I think I can add in there like what Jacob thinks of it, because presumably at some point Richard and Jacob discussed this,
Yeah.
and like what was that conversation? Was it just like, oh yeah, Ben's like hung up on this fertility thing, and he's like, yeah, okay, well let him do that, it doesn't really matter, just do this and this, you
Yeah.
know, be sure to whatever, whatever the fuck he would tell Richard to do. Get
Yeah, I
these
don't
people
know.
on this list, or
Yeah.
go tell Locke this or whatever, you know.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Obviously, yeah, no, it's like it's crazy to just speculate on like a fake conversation that I'm imagining, but that's where I have to go, because it's like there's just so many blanks in that storyline. And I guess that's the thing. It's up to us to try to like interpret it and fill it in, and see if there's something that makes sense there. I mean, I think in general, like Jacob's, that as the follow up for like Richard's, the things Richard remembers would be like Richard and Jacob's meetings, beginning to
Yeah.
end. Like, what were they like in and out of the cabin, perhaps?
Yeah.
Like I honestly, like the first episode's kind of a joke. I want to see that episode. Like I actually want to watch. I want to watch the meetings and like, well,
Like he has a gavel. Okay, let's call
yeah,
this meeting to order.
exactly.
What's the on the agenda? Here's the
Here's this week's
updates.
list. And
Yeah, I like it. Okay, next on the agenda is Jacob's directions for the others.
hmm
Silence. Because he has nothing for them to do. He doesn't
yeah.
care. It's all just, Richard talking and telling him what the others are doing. But yeah, it's weird how, if you think about Jacob wanting the candidates, he didn't have Richard go up to the
Yeah.
A-15 crew and say, hey, there's a guy here who wants you guys. I mean, he basically puts their lives in Ben's hands.
Even worse than that, not only doesn't he get Richard involved with that, but he doesn't even tell Richard about them. He doesn't even tell them that they exist as an idea. Like, there are these people who are going to replace me. Like, he doesn't even inform him about any of that. There's
Yeah.
that really heartbreaking scene in season 6 where um where it's like, you mean Jacob never even told you, like,
Oh yeah.
like what, and Man in Black tells him that, and it's like, oh my god, like Richard is so out of the loop,
Hmm.
and yet he's the emissary.
Speaking of loops, I wonder if what if is it possible that the only reason hmm but the only reason Jacob thinks that Jack and Cade and these guys are possible candidates is because of the time travel to the 70s.
you know you know I think there's some merit
Like
in that.
he sees them pop up out of time and then goes, "Who are these
hmm
people?" And then because I think in that time period they, Sawyer and Kate would have been
It
around
would,
that
yeah,
age,
yeah. You're actually
and they
Sawyer
could
even says
go.
it. In I remember in one of the Dharma scenes, he talks about how like he could have gone
Oh
and
yeah,
stopped the thing happening with his parents. You know?
yeah, he was. It was happening then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so actually, yeah, the timeline is totally possible.
yeah. I wonder if that somehow put like they weren't ordinarily going to be on his
Hmm.
radar, but until that happened, he's like, oh well, these people have some interesting. They're already in integral to the island's history because
Hmm.
they're time traveling. I don't, and presumably he doesn't know the future,
Right.
so he's like, I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to bring them
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty plausible because I definitely have a strong sort of pseudo like fleshed out theory about the opposite of that, which is Man in Black's loophole. And as part of the
mhm.
loophole episode, I sort of I think that Locke, I think something similar happens to Locke where he shows up in the 50s, he marches into the other's camp and he says, Jacob sent me, and
Yeah.
I think the reason the others think that he's special later, special enough to make him their leader, which is something that the Man in Black uses. I mean, I think they only thought that because he said that while he was time traveling, you
Yeah.
know? And so there is this idea that because they time traveled, they became more important, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I almost feel like Man in Black's loophole was the worst plan he could have had. Anything that led to time traveling kind of worked against him, which made me think of a meta loophole where some alternate version of the show, which would have been worse, maybe, where he somehow engineers people who should never be candidates to go time
Mhm.
travel, and then Jacob thinks, oh, these people should be candidates. And then it
Yeah,
turns out, oh, he picked somebody who should never be a candidate and therefore
yeah,
loses. But that would be a meta loophole where he'd have to
yeah.
know that the time traveling makes them seem important
Right.
and all
And
that
and I
stuff.
mean, the thing is like the Man in Black, as opposed to Jacob, where I feel like Jacob's relationship to the time travel is unestablished. The Man in
Yeah,
Black explicitly interacts with it. He's the one who
yeah,
goes to the plane and tells Richard to go give Locke the compass and tell him he has to die. From the
hmm,
future, he delivers this message to the past. And
yeah,
so like he actually really gets involved with that,
yeah,
using the time travel to his advantage. And like I sort of think that he I sort of think that he set up, um it's kind of it's hard for me to even wrap my brain around. I guess it's just kind of a standard time travel paradox, but it's like Locke thought that he was important and that Jacob sent him because the others were expecting him and they accepted him as the leader. But they only did that because he time traveled and told them that, and he only time traveled and told them that because he was in that situation in the first place. So it's sort of
hmm,
like, where did that even come from? But I feel like the idea is that the Man in Black also manipulated that situation, that they would believe that, because even though, yeah, because he's the one who says he speaks for Jacob, and that's why Locke says Jacob sent me. You know, so
yeah,
like he is tied in also with, and him being the leader of the others is part of him getting access to Jacob, which doesn't quite make sense because he just like walked right up to him back in the 1800s, but later on he needs to be the leader of the others to get access for some reason that I don't understand. But anyway, supposedly he does because it's on screen and he says it. So I don't know what else to do but believe it. Anyway, it's a long-winded way of saying that, with the Man in Black and the loophole, it's actually explicit in the show that he's manipulating the time travel. He actually incites the time travel by getting Ben to turn the wheel.
yeah,
And I think Jacob's role in the time travel is vague because I think he never talks about it. And I think that's kind of one of
Hmm.
our disappointments, like him sort of acknowledging the incident and their time in the 70s and like just somehow like making that matter, you
Yeah,
know. It does seem like that could have tied in. And if it also tied in with their status as candidates, then that would have
been a better show.
justified the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my top list of disappointments with the show overall. Is just that the incident really didn't mean anything. That should have proved that they were the right candidates or something, like saving the island, saving the world. Like it just should have mattered, not just getting them back to their normal time, but it should have been more
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something they could have tied in. I mean, it could have been yeah, like they could have done a dual sort of, loophole episode slash like Jacob's plan, you know,
Hmm.
because I feel like there's really holes in both of their stories as far as
Yeah,
like what they were doing behind the scenes and why, and I think that's
yeah.
something they could have addressed because he never talks about the incident on screen. And so it's like, what did he even think of it? Like, did like what's the deal?
Did he
Did
even
he
think of
care
it?
at all? Like,
Yeah.
it's really strange. It's really strange.
Well, that's
But that's
lost.
lost as usual.
All right. Well, anything else on not important?
Another week of uncertainties.
Yeah.
No, I think that's it. It's still a good episode, I think.
Yeah.
I think it works because there are like I appreciate different things about it, but there are still things in it that are interesting.
Hmm.
Even after all of this time and all of the knowledge that we have. Um, I think
Yeah,
it's all
and I
that.
think even the bus mystery is still a good mystery.
Absolutely.
We you really can't put that to bed either way.
Yeah.
Like unlike some other things we come back to, you can kind of say, oh well, it's probably this
Hmm.
and leave it alone.
Yeah, it doesn't quite it because it seems like they reference it later, but then it's like, am I just forcing that interpretation?
Hmm.
Or that were they really having a parallel? Like, should I connect those things? I don't know. Fuck you, Lost.
That's about right.
I get so frustrated with that. But yeah, I think it succeeds definitely on that level. And also I think just on a basic level, like I think I enjoy the sort of action back and forth running around the island. Alex
Yeah,
showing up, let's rescue Carl. Pickett shows up, Juliet shoots him. Like I think all that drama is pretty like engaging.
yeah, it still
Yeah.
works.
And like yeah, Tom and Jack in the operating room. Like,
I'm Tom, by the way. Yeah, not the time, buddy. Not way too little, too late. That's so hilarious.
it's
That I forgot that
me
happened.
too.
Like
Me too.
And it's also weird when you forget who knows whose name.
Hmm.
Even Kate was like, Jack was like,
The
who's letting you
blonde
go?
woman.
And Kate's like, blonde one. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you don't know her
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange. It's strange to be in that position where it's like the characters have to learn stuff that you've known for like
Yeah,
ever. It's
yeah.
like, oh, you're gonna know her name. Don't worry.
She's gonna steal your man from you,
Hmm.
but that's okay. You won't want him,
No matter how much he looks at you,
no matter how much.
I don't care who I looked at.
A look is a look. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Lots more to
Can't
come.
wait. Can't wait.
All right. Well, until next time. Thanks and namaste.
Namaste and good luck.